Good evening. Families whose babies died or were injured while in the care of maternity units in Nottingham say the voices of their babies have been stolen. They're campaigning for better maternity care in the city, but a director at the Nottingham University Hospital's Trust has blocked their social media accounts.
One family says being actively blocked by the head of communications and engagement feels as though the memories of their stillborn child are being silenced. Lewis Warner has tonight's top story.
For years, this family has felt ignored by the government, by the NHS Trust where their daughter was stillborn, and now by its Director of Communications and Engagement. Yesterday, Jack and Sarah found their Twitter accounts had been blocked by Tiffany Jones, someone they feel should be listening.
She is a director, that's a massively senior position, and she is a mouthpiece for the Trust. So the director of the Trust Communications, mouthpiece for the board, does not want to hear what we've got to say. Remember, we don't have our children. Their memories live on through our words, and she's blocked our words.
I mean, it's absolutely shocking. You know, we're not taking our kids on their first holiday, we're not going out and buying their school uniforms, and this is through no fault of our own or no fault through our children. It is because NUH have been negligent or neglectful, and the only memories we have is to tell their story, to keep their names alive, and to know that they've denied us that chance yet again. It's utterly shocking.
Harriet's death at the City Hospital in 2016 was found to be almost certainly preventable. The family are one of more than 100 whose babies died or were injured while in the care of the city's maternity units. And they're not the only ones who feel silenced. Other bereaved families have also been blocked on social media.
Just explain to us why this is more than about blocking a Twitter account.
Denying us a voice, not wanting to hear about our children. Fingers in ears moment by a board that we've already struggled to negotiate with. That is the culture of that organisation. And this blocking us on Twitter is just a beautiful example of it.
You know, to not get your dead baby's voice heard is horrific. I cannot explain the emotional toll that's had on people over the last 24 hours. You know, every day we speak to our 2-year-old about our dead big sister, and this lady's blocking us.
The family says they've never spoken with Tiffany or interacted with her online, which leaves them even more confused as to why. An action considered completely insensitive to those who are living through every parent's worst nightmare.
Well, there's been a big development on this story, and Lewis can bring us more from outside Nottingham's Queen's Medical Centre. Lewis.
Well, yes, tonight we've learnt that Tiffany Jones has been suspended by the trust that runs the Queen's Medical Centre here behind me. Families, of course, had been calling for her to resign. Seemingly that hasn't happened, but the trust has taken this action. What we don't know is what this suspension consists of, how long it will be for, whether there'll be some kind of investigation that might then lead to her dismissal. All of that is unclear at this stage. We have heard from Tiffany Jones in a post on Twitter. She says, "I apologise wholeheartedly for the upset. My decision to block some individuals from my personal Twitter account may have unintentionally caused. I have reflected and made the decision to delete my Twitter account." Now, the families believe that this was never really a personal Twitter account at all. They think that Tiffany Jones was clearly posting about work a lot on this account, and it clearly says on there where she works too. Now, I've spoken to the families since the announcement of this suspension. They think that it raises really more questions than it answers, and indeed they believe that this is about the trust trying to sort out its reputational damage. Now, a spokesperson for the trust says that we offer our sincere apologies for the upset caused. We know the devastation caused to families, and we have not delivered the best care in our maternity service, and we are committed to engaging with and listening to families in order to make necessary improvements. The Director of Communications has been suspended. Now, Natalie Rogers represents some of those families and says that this really just shows how these families have been ignored.
By blocking these families on Twitter, it's sending a message that we're not listening and we don't really care what you have to say. And to me, it's actually quite offensive.
Well, today we've actually heard more about the independent review ordered by the government into those maternity failings here. We know that it will be conducted by the senior midwife Donna Ockenden, but we now know as well that it'll have a bigger, more experienced team behind it than the one that exposed the significant failings at Shrewsbury Hospital, also conducted, of course, by Donna Ockenden. She says the Nottingham review team will have thousands of years of experience, and members who are currently working as midwives and doctors from right across the country will be working on this review team. Some of the families say this is now a real chance to sort out what happened here and, of course, make sure that this maternity unit is safe for families in the future.